You are listening to the Bright Life Podcast, all about ways to stay inspired, chase your dreams, and find more gratitude in the highs and lows of the journey. I'm your host, Jessica Johnson. I'm a business owner, a part-time digital nomad, a self-growth junkie, a believer in other big-hearted women, and am all about sharing tips, tricks, lessons learned, and encouragement so we can all live our biggest, brightest lives. You ready? Let's do this. Hello and welcome back to the Bright Life Podcast. I'm so excited to have you here, and I want to kick things off with some new year energy. We're in January. I know there's so much of a feeling at the beginning of the year that this could be the year you really figure out your passion or your purpose, or find a way to turn what you love to do into a side hustle or a business or a way to make more income for yourself, for your family. So I'm going to share 5 questions you can ask to make this the year that you find that passion and that purpose. And this could be, if you're on the side of the fence that's like, I just want to do something that makes me feel more alive, more inspired, more myself again, that is a worthy reason to dive into this. And if you're on the other side where you're like, no, I'm really looking for that thing that lets me start a business or a side hustle, but I just don't know what it should be, we're going to talk about all those, give you a lot of ideas, no matter which path you want to go down. And a big thing that I want to start out saying is you're not behind. And if you don't know what this thing is yet, that's okay. Like, I spent so many years trying to figure out what is my passion? What do I want to do? And you may not be able to see in this moment that where you're at and the things that you love right now and the things that you've done are actually going to be the setup for this next chapter where you can find more joy or fulfillment or even build a business out of it. I write in my book, Your Bright Life, that I used to envy those people who seemed like they always knew they wanted to be a doctor or a lawyer or a singer or whatever it is from the start, because I knew I would want to work hard and become whatever that thing is. I didn't know what it was. And so it took me some time finding it. And in hindsight, all of those perceived missteps or stumbles aren't actually missteps at all. They are more likely the stepping stones that are guiding you closer to figuring out what your path is. And I hope after this episode you see why that's true and you feel encouraged to pay attention to those nudges and those things that you really just love for seemingly no reason. Those may be the things that you look back in a few years' time and you're like, oh, that's why I always had an interest in that thing, or that's why I loved doing that when I was younger, or that's why people always ask me for help with this. So just keep that in mind, and I hope you feel really encouraged through this episode. All right, so let's get into it. The 5 questions to ask yourself to find your passion and your purpose in 2025. The first one that I want you to think about is, what do you lose time learning about? Like, what do you just lose track of time when you are researching or looking up online? Is there anything that after your traditional workday, you get home and you can't wait to get on the internet and start looking up or planning or researching? Like, maybe for you, it's healthy recipes for your family, and you're always trying to find just the right balance of health and flavor. Or maybe you're someone who loves interior design and you could spend hours scrolling through websites trying to find the perfect lamp for this one room. Maybe financial education is so interesting to you, and every time you're in a bookstore, you always gravitate to that area because you want to create more independence for yourself, for your family, or for women in general. All of these I would pay more attention to. They might not be the thing that's keeping you from all your other responsibilities. They may not be the thing that's actually distracting you. They may be the thing that is that little clue as to what you really love and you could do more of, either for a hobby and joy or for even a business. I know for me, I had many different things that I kind of wrote off initially as just like things I liked to do. Like I liked healthy living, and I did not see that if I learned more about that, that would become my first business, which it did. I liked writing all the time, but I could not see years ago that that would lead to my next business in copywriting and in eventually even in writing a book. And I bet the same is true for you. I bet there's something that you spend a lot of time researching and figuring out that could be the seed that becomes the business or the interest or the lifelong passion. So, first, write that down. What do you just lose track of time learning about? Question number 2. What do other people ask for your help with? Sometimes we are so close to our own genius that we cannot see it ourselves, but a good way to find it is to think through, is there anything that people just always call and say, can you help me with this thing, or can you weigh in? Maybe you are the friend that people always call when they want help organizing their closet. Because for you, what they perceive as a dreaded task, you're like, oh, I can get the colors all in line. I know how to organize the shirts from smallest to largest and get everything grouped together and have it looking so fresh for the season. Maybe you're the friend that people call when they want help rearranging their room and just making it look really fresh and beautiful again. Maybe you're the one who could always put together a stylish outfit. Maybe you're someone who just naturally can draw or whip up a logo just without really even trying. And for someone else, they're like, there's no way I could do this. But when they call you, you can get it done in like an hour's time. I would think about those things, and I would think if there's a way you could spin up a basic website and offer that service, or you could just put a price on doing those things. And the next time someone comes to you and says, can you help me landscape my backyard? You have a price set to it, and you can start bringing in income and building a business from it. I was reading this story about a woman who even made an entire $1 million business out of decorating people's houses for the holidays because she just loved to make a beautiful home. And I think her holiday was Halloween, but no matter the holiday, maybe yours is Christmas or Easter, or maybe you just love like Memorial Day or something. But she would go house to house and bill for her services, making this beautifully decorated home so that someone didn't have to go do all the shopping themselves, all the designing, all the climbing up on the ladders. And for her, that was enough to build a very lucrative and also very fun business out of it. So the second thing I would think about is, what do other people ask your advice for or help around? That could be a telltale clue for a passion or a purpose you could turn into a business in 2025. Okay, question number 3. What comes easily to you that doesn't to others? So maybe you're someone who, when you set out to run a marathon, you just crush your training plan. And whereas someone else is like, wait, you made a training plan? Like, how did you do that? Did you find it online? Did you buy it? You're like, oh no, I just knew what to do. Or maybe you can always effortlessly remember the macros in foods. Maybe you're someone who's just naturally like fit and others envy how you just seem to know how to always keep your health on track. Maybe you can put together a website in like a few hours, whereas to someone else, that would take them like a month of time. Think about those things that just have always come a little bit more naturally to you than others, and maybe you've thought it's weird or you've written it off because you're like, well, that's an easy thing. That could be the hidden jewel of your next business idea or your next side hustle. Because if it doesn't come easily to others, they are going to be more inclined to want to pay for help doing that thing and to really benefit from you being able to lend your expertise. So think about that. Is there anything that you have written off as like, this comes easily to me, but your sister or your parent or your best friend would be like, wait, what? That is not something that I would consider an easy skill. So that's question number 3. Question number 4. This is a big one. What sounds interesting just because? Like, this is not about getting a career promotion, more money, or achievement. This question is like, if you could just make a list of things that you think would be kind of fun to do in your lifetime, that is this list. So it could be a cooking class that you want to take. It could be a fitness class that sounds fun, like learning just how to rock climb for the fun of it, or do a yoga class, or go kayaking for an afternoon. Is there a language you would like to learn? Is there a new coffee shop around town that you want to go to? Make this list, like truly do this, at least 10 things that you've always thought, just for the fun of it, like I might like to do that thing. Because this list can be the list that reignites your spark and enthusiasm for life whenever you feel like you have lost it. I cannot tell you how many times when I'm feeling just in a rut or like, I've kind of lost my zest for things, I will go and do something new. I will go to a new part of town, a new city or country if I can swing it. But if not, even just a new part of town, a coffee shop that I haven't tried, I will go and sign up for something like an art class or something that I just want to learn. I'll spend an hour like learning a new language or researching something online or going to the bookstore and just looking up something different. But all of these things, you come away feeling so reinvigorated and alive, just having tapped into something that's kind of fun and new again. You know, we get so into our routines, and don't get me wrong, I love a good routine, but you never remember anything new from your routine. You know, like you never have one of those days that you're like, I will remember that day. But you do every time you learn or experience something new. That is always a new memory in your brain that the same old day over and over again just isn't. So if you're feeling stuck or you're like, I don't know what my passion is, I can't think of anything I like doing, start out just writing a list without any pressure attached to it. Just make a brainstorm list of random things that would be fun to go do or explore or try, a different food, whatever it is. And then go do one of those things and you will come away feeling like a little more skip in your step. Your cheeks will be a little flushed with that like new energy again, and you may find the little idea that leads to your next thing. So again, for me with nutrition, this was one of those things where I was at a steady place in my career. I felt like I had some extra time, nights and weekends to learn some things. So I started taking nutrition classes and I unlocked this massive interest and passion I had no idea was lying dormant there. And ever since then, I've loved to learn how to cook, to eat healthy. I think it's truly changed my life and my family's life because it's a skill that just benefits you in so many different ways that I never could have predicted and had no tie to my career at the time. You know, same for starting blogs or learning new skill sets like in nights and weekends. I've taken classes in graphic design and it's always benefited me because it's gotten my energy up again. It's started building those new neural pathways, which just like feels very electrifying to learn. And it's always led to something else or helped me with something else down the line that I could have never predicted at that moment in time. And I'm sure the same will be true for you and whatever your random ideas are. Like I always say, at the end of the day, it's either a good time, so it'll benefit you, or it's a good story. So even if nothing else comes from it, it's just a memory, it's just a fun story to have, and it may become something more. All right, so that's number 4. What sounds interesting? Just because, make your curiosity list and go and actually act on one of those things. The last question is, what's something that you have overcome? So maybe you have navigated a health issue. Maybe you have paid off a massive amount of debt. Maybe you've bounced back after heartbreak. There could be so many things that you have endured or even that you are going through now that could become the catalyst for your next chapter. There are most likely thousands of people sitting where you were at the start of this situation who have no idea how to get to the other side the way you did. You could teach them that through a podcast. You could write an article. You could publish a book. You could turn it into a nonprofit or to a movement. This thing that you have gone through, that you have overcome, or that maybe you are figuring out right in this very moment, can become your purpose, can become the thing that you look at that you used to hate going through. And then one day you look at and you're like, I know why I had to endure that. And there's people whose lives I'm changing because I also went through that and I can now help them. It's not to minimize anything you're going through. I know there's not always a silver lining to those things, but maybe for your situation or one of them, there is. Maybe there's a reason, a bigger purpose behind it that you can turn into something that feels empowering and inspiring to you or to others. So what's something you overcame? What's something you figured out that people are still struggling with? What's something that you have gone through that someone else doesn't have the answers for yet, but you do? It might feel very empowering to write out that situation and then write out like the lessons that you learned from it. Because all of those lessons could become a blog post, a podcast episode, a speech that you give. Maybe there's enough of them to even turn it into a book or memoir. So you never know, but that is another thing that I would look for is like, usually the things that we've gone through feel very close to our heart and we feel very passionate and inspired by helping others through them. So there may be something in there for you that's right in front of you that could really become an amazing next chapter for you. Okay, so those are the 5 things I'd think through. Again, number 1, what do you lose track of time learning about? Number 2, what do other people ask for your help with or your advice around? Number 3, what comes easily to you that doesn't to others? Number 4, what sounds interesting just because? And number 5, what's something that you overcame that you could potentially help others with? I hope this gets those gears going. I hope you now have like lists of ideas for things you could dive into. And what I would recommend is just following your instincts around what sounds fun to follow that rabbit hole with. Like, what do you want to just keep learning about? What out of all those ideas sounds like the most kind of exciting one? That's where I would begin, and I would keep spending more time diving into it. I'd give yourself some permission to explore if there's anything more there. Maybe it could become a podcast or a website or a business. So give yourself some time to think through those things. And of course, if you would like any mentorship or support around it, then definitely check out my website, hijessicajohnson.com, where I have mini courses to support you around this topic. And I also have private mentoring, which you can check out and see if anything feels like the right fit for you. And then of course I have my book, Your Bright Life, Get Clear on What You Want, Overcome Self-Doubt, and Bring Your Dreams to Life. I hope that gives you lots to think about, and we'll continue to talk about this over this year of building a life that really lights you up, that truly feels like your version of your brightest life, and that continues to grow and evolve with you. Thank you again for being here, and let me know what you uncover. Thank you so much for listening in. If you enjoyed this episode, check out the links in the show notes or on my website, hijessicajohnson.com, where you can find my books, courses, and opportunities to mentor with me. Or if you haven't yet, I would so appreciate a quick review wherever you listen to this podcast, as it helps others discover it too. Thanks again for being part of this community, and I'll talk to you again soon.